Okay. First of all, I don't want to cry.
But you start crying now.
But now you start crying now.
I'll just give the 10 first. Done that to say something.
You can sit this.
Can you talk about 1 hour?
Yeah. Well, I think it favorite verses in Philippians 1:21 for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Most of us like that verse. We want it to be our life verse, right? But first, one thing that we have to put in mind that Paul was in prison at that time. Okay, he was about to be executed. He knows that he will die, and then he said, "To me to live is Christ and to die is gain." First is for to me, it's a decision, you know. When saying about AteKhitt's life, it's a decision for to me. Paul says, for me, to live is Christ and to die is gain. So, what is really the purpose of living? What is living for you? What are you living for? If you're living for, if your direction, if your purpose is unclear, for sure your direction will be unclear too. If your purpose is wrong, your direction will be wrong. So looking at AteKhitt's life, you know, this verse really a significant impact in my life and also for missionaries' life. That we're here, we decided to follow Jesus, and that's our purpose. And to live is Christ. For to me, to live is Christ. Most people nowadays, they live for what? For fame. They live for money. They live for anything else aside from God. They live for selfishness. Well, he said, for to me to live is Christ. What does it mean by to live is Christ? Now, looking back at Philippians 1:21, when you go back to Philippians 1:20, Paul says, whether by life or death, I will magnify Christ through my life. You know, magnify, make Christ big. Whether by life or by death. And then it says, to die is gain. What is gain in dying, by the way? You will leave your family. You will leave your house. You will leave your, what else? You will leave your car. You will leave your possession. Is it a gain? What is Paul saying here? But I gain, what will I gain if I die? There's, for people without Christ, it's emptiness. When you ask them, where are you going after you die? I don't know. But Paul says, for to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. Now in Philippians chapter 1 verse 23, it's very clear. What is Paul saying there? What is gain for Paul? If you have your Bibles with you, sometimes we like the verse Philippians 1:21, right? But look at verse 23. It's very nice. Philippians 1:23. It says here. Let's go back to verse 21. For to me to live is Christ and to die is gain. If I am to go on living in the body, this will mean fruitful labor for me. Yet what shall I choose? I do not know. What is he saying here? I want to die, yet I want to live too. I do not know which one will I choose. In verse 23 it says, I am torn between the two, between dying and living. I desire to depart. I desire to depart means I'm willing to die now. I desire to die and be with Christ, which is better by far. So what is Paul really saying here is, for to me to live is Christ and to die is to gain Christ. That's what gain here. I will leave everything behind. I will get Christ. I will leave all my families. Okay, my father, my mother, brother, sister. I will have Christ. See the satisfaction that Paul sees in this verse, that for to me, to live is Christ and to die is to gain Christ. What will you gain after death? Christ. Okay? So I think this verse is really important to all of us, that what is really your purpose of living? Is it to gain Christ? Is it to live for Christ? Or just to live for yourself? If you live for yourself, you will lose it. If you live for money, there will be no money in heaven. If you live for possession, if you live for fame, only one will be famous in heaven, and that's God. But Paul is saying, if you live for Christ, you will have Him in eternity. I think that's it's my challenge for not just for AteKhitt's, for all of us, is that AteKhitt's, you have Christ, you live for Christ, and you will have Him. You will have Him in the eternity. I think the same thing with all of us. What does it mean to live with Christ? It's to magnify Him through our life. Whatever you do, do it for Christ. Paul says, whatever you do it for the glory of God. Okay? Galatians 2:20 says, same writer, but different letter. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live the life I live in the body. I live by faith in the Son of God who loves me and gave Himself for me. Colossians chapter 3 verse 3. Our life is Christ. See that verse there? So that's why Paul was able to say, for to me to live is Christ, because He is my life. And to die is to have Him in eternity. Okay? So I think your life has been a blessing. Okay? And you live for Christ, and you will have Him in eternity. And thank you so much for your life. For 6 months, she was very a big help to us in Lakapan Center. She had invited a lot of students to come to our cell group, more than we invited. It's just very good at inviting students to our cell group, to our Friday worship, and you've been a blessing to us. I know that, again, Paul says, your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Okay? What you do for Christ Christ will just make it fruitful someday. It may not be in this, in 6 months that you will hear, no students receive Christ, but after you're done, after this, or next year, God will just make it fruitful in His time. So happy birthday, and thank you so much for your life.